The truth behind the madness. Confessions of Charles Manson. So you want to know the truth, huh? The real story behind all the madness and mayhem. What really drove me to do the things I did back in the day? Well, grab a drink and settle in, because you're in for one hell of a tale. The name's Charles Manson. I'm sure you've heard of me. Everyone thinks they know my story. The crazy cult leader who brainwashed his followers into killing for him. The monster who brought an end to the era of peace and love. But that's all a bunch of garbage. The truth is far more complicated than that. I was just a small-time crook looking to catch my big break in the music industry. How was I supposed to know a few acid trips and philosophical ramblings would lead to worldwide infamy? Sometimes life takes you down paths you never could have imagined. Strap yourself in and the real confession of Charles Manson is about to begin. My troubled childhood was a rough one. Never knew my real parents, grew up in foster homes and institutions. Got beaten and abused at almost every turn. Ran away for the first time at age 12 and never looked back. Life on the streets was hard, but at least no one was telling me what to do. I fell in with a bad crowd, learned how to hustle and manipulate people to get what I wanted. Discovered my gift for attracting followers and gaining their trust. I had a way with words that gave people hope and made them believe in me. By the time I was in my 20s, I had built up a devoted group of outcasts and runaways like myself. We were searching for meaning, desperate for belonging. I gave them that. We traveled up and down the West Coast in an old school bus, scavenging and scamming to get by. We ended up settling at Spawn Ranch outside Leh. It was there I first met Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, and through him, the music producer Terry Melcher. I was convinced Melcher would help me launch my music career. When that didn't happen, something inside me snapped. I started preaching an apocalyptic philosophy I called Helter Skelter. An interracial war, I said, would arise from race riots in the cities. I warned my followers they would need to prepare to fight for their lives. We began stockpiling supplies and weapons. The tension and paranoia grew, fueled by drugs and my own madness. Looking back now, I can see I was deeply troubled. But at the time, I believed I was a prophet destined to lead. My unquestioning followers in isolation from society only fed into my delusions of grandeur. The results were a tragedy I will always regret. Finding purpose with the family. You think you know why I did it, but you have no idea. The truth is, I was searching for purpose and belonging. When I started preaching in the streets of San Francisco, lost souls started flocking to me. At first it was a few, then dozens, eventually over 100. My family of followers looked to me as their leader, and I gave them what they needed. Finding purpose with the family, we dropped out of society and lived together, sharing everything. I taught my family about philosophy, religion, and my prophecies of an impending race war. They believed in me and trusted me to guide them to salvation. For the first time, I felt I had a real purpose. My family and I traveled up and down the West Coast in an old school bus, scavenging food and supplies. We lived off the land, so to speak. The family dynamic was complex, but we looked out for one another. Some members came and went, but there were a few dozen devoted followers, mostly young women, who were with me for the long haul. In the late 60s, we settled at Spawn Ranch near Leh. We turned it into our home base, though we often took trips to spread the word about our circle. There were power struggles and relationship drama, sure, but for the most part we lived in harmony. My family gave me the sense of belonging I had always craved. I would do anything to protect them and keep us together. Maybe that's why things eventually spun out of control. Why we targeted the rich and famous. The rich and famous were easy targets. Their lavish lives and excessive wealth made them blind to the suffering of ordinary people. We wanted to scare them, to show them how vulnerable they really were. Their false sense of security. The rich live in their own little bubble, protected by guards and gates. But their security is an illusion. No one is truly safe from those determined to get inside. We studied their homes, their habits, their schedules. We found the cracks in their defense and slipped right through. They represented the establishment. Celebrities are the puppets of the establishment, used to distract people from the real problems in the world. Their fame and fortune come at the expense of the common man. They live in a dream world of excess while people struggle to survive. They had to be shown the ugliness that exists behind the bright lights and cameras. Their deaths would shock the public. The more famous the victim, the bigger the statement. Killing a celebrity isn't just about them. It's about the reaction it provokes. Their deaths would be highly publicized, spread through the media like wildfire. It was a way to grab the public's attention, to make them confront the darkness instead of escapism. We didn't target the rich and famous for money or fame. We targeted them to send a message, to wake people from their slumber. to show that no one is safe while injustice still exists. Their privilege and status meant nothing in the end. Death comes for us all, no matter your zip code. Behind the mansions and movie sets, we all bleed the same. The establishment uses celebrities to distract from this simple truth, but we wouldn't let the public look away. Not anymore. The truth may be madness, but it's a madness of their own making. That fateful night in August 1969 is seared into my memory. My family and I went to the Tate residence high on drugs and thirsty for blood. I had convinced them that we needed to start a race war by committing heinous crimes that would be blamed on black militants, starting with the murder of the Tate household. 10,050 Cielo Drive. When we arrived at the secluded estate, I told the others to remain outside while I went in to check the layout. In truth, I froze. The enormity of what we were about to do suddenly hit me. But my followers were expectant. I couldn't back down now without losing their devotion and respect. So I steeled myself, and we commenced with the slaughter. We brutally killed 5 people that night, including the actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant. Their screams still haunt my dreams. The carnage was beyond anything I could have imagined. Yet in that moment, I felt a surge of power and control that fed my delusions of grandeur. We were securing our place in history and launching the revolution that would usher in the new world I envisioned, or so I thought. In reality, all we accomplished was the senseless, horrific murder of innocent people and the diminishment of humanity. My megalomania and belief in my own hype led me down a path of destruction that caused irreparable harm and ended too many lives. Sometimes in the lonely hours of the night, the veil of madness lifts, and I see with awful clarity the monster I have become. But by dawn, the delusions inevitably return to wrap me in their comforting embrace. And so the cycle continues. Reflections from prison sitting here in my cell. The memories come flooding back. The drugs, the music, the belief that I was some kind of prophet. What a joke. I was just a petty criminal who got lucky and found some kids who were dumb enough to follow me. The family, we weren't a real family like people say. Just a bunch of dropouts and runaways living together on the ranch, getting high and talking philosophies we thought were deep. The girls came and went, staying as long as it suited them or as long as I wanted them there. They thought they were in love, but it was really just the drugs and my charm keeping them around. Helter-skelter, that whole helter-skelter thing was a bunch of nonsense I made up to control the family. I had them so brainwashed that they would believe anything I said. The Beatles' White Album seemed as good a place as any to get messages from, so I started spinning this tale of an impending race war that we had to start. They were too far gone to question it. When things started to fall apart, I panicked. I ordered the killings to try and make my predictions come true, to keep the family under my control. No regrets. Part of me regrets what I did, the lives lost, the damage done. But another part of me still believes I was destined for greatness, that the establishment just couldn't handle my revolutionary ideas. The truth is, I was a narcissistic sociopath who destroyed everything I touched. I hope this serves as a warning to others. Don't follow leaders who promise utopia. Think for yourself and don't give your power away. My name will live on, but for all the wrong reasons. There's no method to the madness, it's just madness. Conclusion: that's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You've now heard it straight from the horse's mouth, the real reasons why those terrible events unfolded all those years ago. Maybe now you have a glimpse into how a twisted mind works and the dangers of unchecked power over vulnerable people. Though there's no excusing the acts committed, perhaps there's an opportunity for understanding how easily humans can be misled and manipulated. The moral of this story is to think for yourself, question authority, and never give your power away to charismatic leaders making big promises. You're the master of your own destiny. Don't forget that.